Are you listening? Damn.
Yeah, I know. Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight, we have the owner and operator of Pura, Vida, Jiu-Jitsu, and MMA, Jake Klipp. Trash Talk is brought to you again by Valhalla Combat Sports, Ink Shrinks Tattoo out in New Brighton, Minnesota, James Clark's Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, Origin Wellness CBD out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, TJ's mom, and did I say them all?
I think so.
Yeah, I did. How are you doing tonight, Jake?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no, thanks for being on. We really appreciate it. Tonight we're here to talk about, we're here to talk about you as a gym owner, former fighter. I mean, coach. Man, you run a stacked team. We've had a few of you guys on before, and we've been watching you guys perform for a while. And then also how the gym actually got formed and how you got into fighting. And I think that's kind of where I want to start off. What was the starting point for you?
So I wrestled for 14 years. I wrestled for a year of college, and then since I was 5 years old, I got out of high school. I joined the Marines, and then after I got out of the Marines, I was just looking for something to compete in, something physical, some tough guy shit. So I was playing football a little bit, and I had heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I knew it was supposed to be it was like wrestling, only like UFC wrestling. So, So I go into a gym. My instructor, his name is Henry Matamoros. He lives in Denver, but he's here right now. He's upstairs in my house. He's in town for the weekend. Yeah, so Henry's upstairs. So I go do jiu-jitsu. 2008. I go take my first jiu-jitsu class. Loved it. It was awesome. And then a year later, Zach Otto, who's my partner at the gym, Zach joins the gym about, a year, I don't know, maybe like 6 months after. I was still a white belt. Zach and then one of our other buddies take MMA. They take an MMA fight. They each fight. And so Henry had this little core group of us that would go do tournaments. We were at class all the time. We were his dogs. We were his tough guys. Yeah. And here, Zach and this other guy, they go have an MMA fight. And I didn't even really think about fighting, but I just didn't want them to think I was a pussy. So I'm like, if these guys are fighting, I got to go fight. And then I go do it. And it was cool. I liked it. It was good. But this is sort of a theme in my life, this tough guy stuff. I do it so no one finds out. I don't want anyone to think I'm a pussy. That's kind of why I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I fight enough times. I'm like, damn, I'm actually I'm a fighter. I'm not a pussy, man. I'm a fighter. So that's how I got into fighting.
Man, no, that's crazy. And it seems like it kind of just went full circle because, I believe that's how a lot of fighters start off, at least in elementary school area. I didn't want anybody to think I was a punk, so I always had to fight too. And then I just kind of carried that along with me and stuff. And then knowing that you had all of that behind you, what was the motivation to making the transition into coaching?
So I always thought I would coach. I didn't know if I was going to coach wrestling or football, but I just have always felt a passion for coaching. I've been good at it, and everything I've coached, I've enjoyed and done well with. So you fast forward to 2010. So it's only 2 years. I'm still, it's at the end of my white belt as a jiu-jitsu guy. And Henry calls me. Henry's this old Costa Rican. He's like, man, Jake, I gotta close my gym, man. I'm like what? So, he's telling me he got an opportunity and he's going to close his gym and, such and such. This other guy's going to take it over, whatever. And the phone call ends, and my wife, she's my girlfriend at the time, and we lived together. She walks in the room, and she thought someone got in a car accident because I'm pale. I was doing jiu-jitsu all the time. I'd go to work. Yeah. I'd go to tournaments every weekend. This is what I wanted. I was I'd had my fight by then, and this is what I wanted to do. And he calls me back 20 minutes later. So he was going to give the gym to someone, a guy. He calls me back 20 minutes later. He's like, man, fuck that. You're going to run my school. Everybody likes you. And I'm a white belt. I'm like, no, Henry, I don't know if I can do this. There's like 4 or 5 black belts in Milwaukee teaching at schools. And he's like, oh man, like people respect you. People look up to you. You know your stuff and you can do this. So I talked to my wife. I talked to, a couple people, lawyers, bankers, just people that I needed to talk to about running a business. And everything kind of came together. It was going to happen. Like I'd go in to meet with this banker and I have this list of like 4 or 5 questions. Like I got to ask this. And if they tell me this, I'm out. Well, everything that I asked, they were giving me the thing that I needed. It was almost like I'd walk out of these meetings and I'd look at my partner and then I'd look at my girl, Andrea, and they're like, dude, that's crazy that everything you said, like they were telling you. And so November of 2010, we officially launched Pura Vida. So Pura Vida is it's the national saying in Costa Rica. Henry's Costa Rican. We named it was Henry Matamoros School of Jiu-Jitsu. When I took it over, we call it Pura Vida, and that's in homage to my instructor Henry.
Oh man, dude, that's great. It seems like fate. I mean, I don't know if you believe in that at all, but like I do. Like I want to say like I'm in control of it, but when things happen and just like everything kind of seems to fall into place, it seems like it's a higher power acting in on that, and like that's fucking amazing, dude. Oh man, and then for you being a white belt at the time, I mean, granted, you had all that experience as a wrestler already behind you, like in wrestling, you don't necessarily have a belt or anything, but once you start off in jiu-jitsu, you get a belt and everything, but there's no real way to gauge the I don't know, the skill set of a wrestler until you actually roll with them. So it's like, even when you were a white belt, he saw or probably saw that you had more grappling knowledge than what the average white belt did. I mean, so I know it still must have been a shock for you, but did you ever find out who the other guy that was offered the gym was?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, you don't have to talk.
I know who it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I know
Okay. Yep. So yeah,
I'm cool with the guy, and everything's good, and relationships are good in town. But I know who it was. Yeah.
Okay, but
I was
so
the right
now,
pick, like that.
I don't know. I don't want to sound insulting, because I don't know. I've insulted other people before on accident by asking them about their belt, But when you took over the gym, you were still a white belt. Could you take us through the progression of how you got to your black belt now?
Yeah. So the second follow-up phone call with Henry, I'm like, I'm only a white belt. He's like, no, man, I'm going to make you a blue belt next weekend. Don't tell nobody. I'm like, all right, cool. So I get my blue belt, and it was like, I don't know. I think it was like the next week when we announced the students that Henry's leaving, and me. It was my partner was named Rob Couliard, who's a really good jiu-jitsu guy. And Henry announces that me and Rob are going to take the school over. We inherited, we teach classes for UW Milwaukee, University of Wisconsin Milwaukee. So we inherited one class with 6 kids in it, and then 12 students. So that was the school. That's who came with us. Yep. It was 12 students and then 6 kids in this UWM class. And so I'm a blue belt at that time. I think it was, I think I got my purple belt fast. I don't remember exactly how long. But actually, I remember getting promoted, completely surprised with my purple belt. And Zach is I think he's a partner at the gym at this point. Me, Rob, and Zach, after this promotion, I'm about a year in promotion ahead of Zach.
Yep.
So we're talking afterwards, and I'm like, guys, you got to back me up with this. And Zach, I kind of like was expressing doubt almost. And Henry's like, or Zach's like, do you think you know better than Henry what a purple belt is? I was like, no. He's like, well, Henry says you're a purple belt. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go do a tournament. So we went and did a tournament. I did my first tournament a week after I got my purple belt. And I fucked up a bunch of purple belts in this tournament. And like, I guess I'm a purple belt. Well, then, hold on. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but I think you guys are right with that because I watch your interviews. Hey, so
yeah.
So then 2 weeks later, I'm in my head thinking like I'm the best purple belt maybe like of all time, right? So I go out to Denver to visit Henry. They've got the Colorado Open. I think it was called the Colorado Open. And it's at altitude. And I go roll Friday night, and I don't really feel the altitude. there's a difference between rolling with friends and rolling at a tournament, like the intensity, right? So I'm rolling with friends Friday night, and I'm like, yeah, I don't, altitude's not shit. Like, I'm fine. Let's go do this tournament. I go to the tournament. I beat the first guy. I can't remember how many matches I had, but I get to the finals, and the altitude hit. First of all, the guy was better than me. He was better at jiu-jitsu, but then the altitude hit me with like a couple minutes left, where I like can't breathe, and I'm like, oh my god, man! So I stalled and I held on, and I did everything in my power to keep the score as close as I could to lose 10-0. Like I could have got stopped a lot worse than that. And then I went and did absolute that day too, and faced a real good guy, and I did a good performance, but I didn't win. But so that was like, I go to the first tournament, it's awesome. I go to the second tournament, like, all right, man, you're all right, but you're not the best purple belt in the world or the history of mankind.
It's like you get a little bit of a high, and then you get brought back down to reality, and then you say, okay, now, and it's a good assessment, So, yeah.
It's jiu-jitsu, actually. Actually, that purple belt that beat me, really cool guy. When I got my black belt, sometime after I got my black belt, I was out in Colorado, and I saw him at an open mat, and we went and rolled, and it was a lot better match. Like we had, you don't talk about what happens at the gym, but he's a good guy, and we had a really good match as black belts after he had squashed me as purple belt. So it's pretty cool. The jiu-jitsu community is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it reminds you how small, the world is a big place, but how small it is. Like once you start establishing like certain relationships with certain people, and like how it all kind of connects and stuff. How sometimes you figure out the same people and stuff like that. So yeah, that's dope. Now, your coach is upstairs with you. You spoke on it earlier about how he handed it over to you. Man, it's been a journey. How does he feel about the gym now that he's back and gets to see it all full circle? You had a new facility now and all of that. Like, what's he think of it?
So we took Henry over there today and showed it off. You guys mentioned it, and I know a couple of my other guys have too. We bought a new gym, bought a new building, and built a gym, and it's huge. It's beautiful. It's awesome. It's a showpiece now, not just like a grit and grind training center. It's like a grit and grind training center, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we got Henry over there. He loved it. He always tells me, he tells me, and then the people around him, so his girl and his kids and the close people, talk about how proud he is of us and how we're carrying on his legacy and whatnot. So it just felt natural to make sure we were carrying that. He turned the school over to us. He handed the torch off. We had to take that torch, and we're gonna go find the tallest mountain and plant it up at the top of the tallest mountain.
Man, you guys do that time and time again. I mean, wow. I don't have a question. I'm just praising you. Man, that's amazing. TJ, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I feel like I've been a fan of this episode, just sitting here watching, and then I'm dealing with the tantrum of a 2-year-old as well. So I apologize about that.
I just put mine to
But
bed.
no,
We're good.
I love it. The one thing I'm really taking away from this is the confidence that the people around you see in yourself, and I feel like that provides you with everything you need. You mentioned, not really believing it, and your coach was telling you, no, you got this. You mentioned not really knowing you had the purple belt, and your friends are like, no, you got this, and you go murk everybody. And I feel like that's the confidence that has led people to you and allowed your gym to become, I say it all the time, arguably one of the, if not the best gym in Wisconsin. And that's my personal opinion, because I feel like the fights show for themselves. You guys mentioned the growth. What has that been like from your perspective? To start off, like you said, with just a small group of guys as a blue belt to where it is now. We've been seeing you on the UFC. We've been seeing you on these local fight cards. The gym is blowing up right now, and 2020 has all the potential. What's it been like from your point of view, from the driver's seat?
Man, so okay, it's funny the way you phrase the question. So when it comes to like me as an individual, I have doubt. When I would fight, I would like, you need someone to tell you you're going to be great, and like, I'm nervous. But when it comes to like we and what we're doing, I got like great big giant dinosaur balls. Like I know, like I know where we're going. Like I know where we're going, to the top, right? And it's always been that way. When we were blue belts, in a city with black belts, when we had 12 students, when the only fighters on the team were me, Zach, and Rob, and now I just wrote everything up on the board. Me, Zach, and Rob as amateurs. We were the fight team.
Yeah.
And now I put it up on the board, and it's 16 pros and 18 amateurs, and we got 5 in the UFC, and
monsters. I'll say it.
Cool.
Monsters.
And there's nothing wrong with being praised, though I don't need it, and it's not why I do any of this stuff. But what's it been like from the driver's seat? I mean, exactly what I expected. This is how I thought it was. And we haven't done anything yet. What are you talking about? How many champions do I have? How many UFC champions do I have?
Oh,
None.
man.
How am I going to make?
Yet to come.
All of them.
I love
hopefully,
it.
we're going to get it done. But,
man, dude, I love that. Oh my God. Okay. So one of the things that I say to a lot of the guys at the gym and stuff, I don't know if I've actually said it on an episode before, but I'm like, I don't need any fucking body's validation for anything I do. Not one single person. I don't give a fuck, but it feels good when people start to say, "Hey, I like nice job, Damien."
Yeah.
So I do like it and everything, but it's not needed, especially when somebody who is as confident as you, when you said it's going the way it's supposed to be going, it's going the way that I thought it would, but we ain't done shit yet. Oh my God, the best is yet to come. Oh my God, I love that shit, dude. Oh, I feed off of that.
Yeah, you talk about feeding off of that. I mean, this is the first time I've had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with you, but I've talked to many of your fighters, and I've wondered where they get that type of confidence and that type of passion. And after having this conversation, it makes all the sense in the world. I can only imagine those pep talks going into practice, let alone fights.
Oh, man. It's fiery, in practice. Some of the guys will say I'm like bipolar at practice, because it's like, hey man, you're good, don't worry, you're so great, and then it's like, shut the fuck up, it's practice, right? Like, it's coach being a coach, you're just doing your thing. But then when they go out for a fight, and I give them their last little bits of wisdom in their ear, and whether they remember it or not, whether it sticks or not, they're all getting something different. Every guy's a little different. Some guys need a kick in the ass, some guys need a pat on the back. Some guys need to be reminded that they're fucking savages, and some guys need to be kind of reined in a little bit if they're too wild. And part of building and growing and developing a team is getting to know your guys and knowing like what do they need from me. And I've worked my whole life. I've worked since I was a little kid. And I know what customer service is about because I work some dog shit jobs, and this job I work for my fighters like that. They hire me, they pay us tuition or they whatever kind of arrangement we all have. They hire me. I'm their employee, so they got to do what I say, especially when they're inside the walls of the gym, But at the end of the day, I work for them, so I try to do everything I can to make sure that I'm giving them exactly what they need.
Yeah. I mean, well, we from the outside looking in, we can see how active of a coach that you are, constantly traveling almost every weekend, always with your fighters on the local scene, for the amateurs, for the pros, the UFC, everything, I mean, and then you don't develop those relationships and getting to know your fighters mentally, what things to say before they go in there without being that active in with the coaching at practice and talking to them inside and outside of practice and things like that. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or I don't know if it's ever came up, but we're sponsored by James Clark Hypnosis or Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy. He's actually my head coach. He has a PhD in Platonic metaphysics. He has a psychology degree. He's a hypnotist. He's a world record holder. He has he's a ordained minister,
He's
Spanish
the
teacher.
Dos Equis guy.
Yeah, he
ordained minister. It's cool.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
What's it about fight coaches and ordained ministers?
Yeah.
Guys want to scare you. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But one of the things that he's always done for me, and it's like I've never actually know it was happening while it was happening, but hypnotizing me at practice as we're doing it and everything, like repetitive suggestions, things like that and stuff like, I don't know if that is something that you've ever heard of or whatever, or but do you think that like being that active and everything plays like kind of the same factor in it, whether you're trying to do it or not?
So I've never like thought of it in those terms, but I'll relate it. My degree is in writing, creative writing, actually. So like I like to write fiction. I like to read fiction. I like to write fiction. And one of the things that makes me good at it, and I think one of the things that makes me good at this job and, probably a bunch of other jobs that I've had too, is like I have an understanding of human psychology. Like I know how people think. So I mentioned earlier how every fighter needs something a little bit different. Your coach is relating it in one way with his sports psychology. I think good coaches are always sports psychologists. They're always paying attention to how people are thinking. They're always making sure they're in their fighters' heads, and in other sports too. I think you see it a lot. So I do see. I've never thought of it as hypnosis or repetitive suggestion.
Yeah, I would never.
But like when you say it resonates that like, yeah, man, I am doing some of that stuff. It's all psychology. If you get how people think, you know how to talk to them. If you get how people think, you know how they're going to respond to what you say. And I think it's crazy important.
Oh yeah. I mean, cause I'm an arrogant motherfucker. Like I didn't need to be hypnotized. Fuck that. That's just for pussies. But he was doing it subconsciously, and getting the subconscious mind of your fighters and stuff. I mean, yeah, you summed it up perfectly. I mean, dude, like without coaches like you can't really, see the success in a lot of guys, and you can tell when certain coaches play favorites, but when you see the success that all of your guys are having, seems like you care about all of them individually, I mean, dude, what's it like being in control? I mean, I don't want to make that sound bad, but like in control of like all these killers.
You got it right.
Yeah.
You got it right, man.
But being in control of all these killers, man. How's that feel? Like it'd be hard for me not to have a power trip.
Yeah, it feels good. I like having a big roster. I like going to work. I like going to UFCs. I like going to regional shows. Yeah. I like going to news shows. I like the travel trips. So, we get like, I can tell you any, okay. We got a couple like bigger time dudes. So like, I'll give you a guy, Alton Cunningham, fought on Contender Series twice unsuccessfully, but is a very good prospect.
Yeah.
What I haven't done with Alton yet is take him out of town and let him just be a nobody in someone else's state and someone else's backyard. He's got this big following and he's always like selling tickets and hustling and doing this great job. And that's great for him and great for his career. But when that's all you've ever done, you have to make sure your fans are taken care of. You're always putting on a show for your people. So, like I'm going to throw him in the truck with 2 or 3 or 4 other guys and like, hey man, you're a nobody this weekend. We're going out of state to somebody that doesn't know you and doesn't like you, and you don't have to take care of anything other than handling your business. And that's, something that Alton needs right now. And why are we doing it? Because I'm in charge and I think he needs it. Why are we taking these? We've got 2 tough LFA fights. I'll see you guys out there. You guys gonna be there?
Oh hell yeah! Well, yeah. I will.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to make this card, but Damien will be there.
Okay, so we have 2 tough fights. Jordan Clark and Wes Schultz are fighting. They're fighting tough guys. And why are we doing it? Well, because they're tough guys. They need to fight tough guys. And we're developing these guys. We're going to try to turn these guys into great fighters and put them into the UFC and win UFC fights. And because I believe I'm awesome and I'm making the right calls, and because they need these fights, because I decided they need these fights, because that's what they need. Because I don't know, someone's got to be in charge, and I'm good at it.
Oh, I love it. I love the mindset and the metaphor that comes into my head is you have the remote control and you're playing a video game with just a bunch of killers and you get to pick and choose the matchups and knowing the right matchups to choose. I mean, it's great to hear your mindset and the way you go about thinking about it when matching these guys up, especially as an amateur level. Because my favorite part about your gym right now, from an outside perspective, you notice the guys in the UFC, you notice Alton, you notice Kalen Hall. You notice the monsters, but it's the amateur program. I feel like right now it's almost like the grassroots for like a baseball program. There's so many guys brewing down there. When you're matching up these amateur fights, do you specifically try to get them the most difficult fights as an amateur to test them before making that jump, or is it just what's available for the best opportunity?
No, it's not always the most difficult fight. It's whatever they need next to like take that next step. So if I've got a guy, let's say I got a guy who lost to a wrestler, he got wrestled for a fight, right? We'll work on his wrestling, either, whether we're working on his offensive wrestling, his defensive wrestling, his counter wrestling, whatever we're going to work on with this specific guy, we're going to work on that deficiency. And then the next fight, I'm going to try to find, maybe some like collegiate wrestler kicked his ass. Well, this guy, if I throw him in against another collegiate All-American, it shatters his confidence if the same thing happens. But if I can find a wrestler who's maybe like a step or two down, and then my guy can go in and try this new shit we've been working on with a step or two down, tough guy, but not like, the top of the class, then my guy gets to go hone some skills we've been working on. So it's not always just like the very toughest of guys. It's what does my guy need next? And sometimes he does need that next. He needs the toughest guys. Jordan Clark's a good example. Jordan's, I think he's 4-1 now. Jordan lost his amateur debut. But I think it was a split decision, super close fight.
Split decision, yeah.
Yep. So then he goes and he wins his next 4 against some really tough guys. And Jordan needs to fight tough people. We're going to go pro with Jordan sometime soon. And I don't mean soon like within the next month or two, but I don't know. Sometime soon we're going to go pro with Jordan. So let's go take some tough fights, man. Like another thing I'll talk to the guys about is when you go pro, it's like a dry erase board. We wipe off everything that happened before. Yep. And now we're writing in permanent marker. Like as an amateur, hey, the competitor in me always wants to win. Oh, I fucking hate losing. Like I can't sleep at night when I lose. But the coach and the manager in me understands the value in it. Like we need to go take tough tests. We need to go take tough fights. We did it with Nick Klein. He's an 85er. Klein was like running through people he was fighting in and out of weight class. So that's the other thing he's trying to he's an 85er. Like, hey man, we're gonna take a short notice fight at 205. Let's go.
He won this for a reason.
He won that for a reason.
Hey, so we need a tough challenge. Let's go to Nebraska and fight the best 205er out there. And Nick loses. He loses that fight, right? And he, it's his first time losing. We kind of want to know how guys respond to stuff like that. Yep. He responds well. He's in the gym. He's training. He's working for the next thing. So, hey, let's go fight another tough guy. Let's go fight a tough guy down in Iowa in his hometown, but at your weight class. So then we went back to 85, fought a tough guy. Beat that guy. That fight ends, and I'm cornering another fight, and Klein is sitting behind me to my right with his family, and he leans in, and he goes, just tell me when I'm going to do my next fight. And I'm like, you're going to kickbox next weekend at 205 because I don't think you took any damage. So he went and fought Rodney Nash in a kickboxing fight.
Yeah.
It was a fucking awesome fight.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was a split decision. It was like Nick.
It was close. Nick won.
Klein won, but it was a close fight. Like, if they raised Rodney's hand, it's not like,
wouldn't have been
it was a good fight. But yeah, man, I don't know. When you get towards the end of your amateur career, let's go fucking take some tough fights and see what happens. And if you get destroyed at something, then maybe we gotta like reassess a little bit, work on a couple of things, fight one of those step down guys that's a specialist in the thing you got beat at or whatever. But these earlier guys, like, let's just go fight. I want good fights, and there's There's good matchups for guys everywhere. And then running shows and matchmaking, like I've got a really good grasp on the Midwest scene.
Yeah.
So I know who guys are and I know where they're at and I know what a good fight is for my guys. And if a promoter calls me and offers me a dog shit fight, I'll just let him know, no, thank you. Appreciate the offer. And then if he pushes, I'll tell him to go fuck himself. And then if it's a good fight, and my guy's healthy and we got, it's time to go. Like, let's fucking go.
Hell yeah. Oh man, you talk about building guys up, and then the way you put it, the dry erase and then writing in permanent marker. I mean, yeah, work on your penmanship as an amateur, get that handwriting down before you turn pro, because like you said, it's in permanent marker now. And I just applaud you on how you're running things and how you're going about it. I mean, dude, it seems like you have it all figured out. Did you have it? Do you feel like you had it all figured out from the very beginning, or do you still kind of like feel yourself learning new things, or I mean, not learning new things, but I don't know, still finding surprises every once in a while?
No, so I'm learning stuff all the time, and I'm picking brains all the time, and I'll talk to other promoters, I'll talk to managers. When we go to these UFC events, I'm like picking brains. I'm watching people interact, like, what are you guys doing? And what are you guys doing? And what do I like that I can, steal or borrow? And what are you doing that I'm already better than you at? And I'm noticing and I'm paying attention to all of it. And I'm never done. At the same time, and this goes back to like the confidence that we're approaching this with. Like, I think I'm smart and I think I'm pretty good at this. And essentially, I feel like, I don't know, I'm probably right like 95% of the time,
Yeah.
And then I'm smart, so I can fix about 4% of my errors. And then I'll just write that 1% off as the cost of doing business and fucking move on. A lot of people like sit back and dwell on their mistakes, and I don't. Like, I make some, I fix the ones I can fix, and then the ones I can't, like, those are in the past, and I'm on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Man, the way you word this, the way you speak, I mean, the fact that you mentioned that you have a degree in writing, that makes so much sense. Just the way you're able to get your point across. I love it. Speaking of picking brains, I feel like I could sit here and pick yours all day. We've gone a half an hour without anybody even noticing. So, I mean, we definitely got to have you back on in the near future, I feel like. Maybe even go inside the trash can. But just for tonight, before we do wrap this one up, I always like to give an open platform. Anybody you want to give a shout out to, any sponsors, anybody you want to thank?
Nothing on the business side. Want to thank my wife for being super supportive of what I do. My kids are my biggest fans, so it's pretty cool. I hope they don't watch this because I swore a lot the whole time. But
we're supposed to be 18 plus. No.
Yeah, right. You got middle schoolers watching you though.
Yeah.
And then my fellow coaches, Zach Otto, who everyone knows as a fighter, but who's actually one of the best coaching minds around too, and he's going to start getting noticed for that. Solo Acosta, who is our striking coach, but who's actually an MMA coach, an all-around MMA coach. Ben Tones is our wrestling coach, but again, like, none of us coach one thing. We all coach MMA. The fighters, from the early amateurs up through my guys that are starting to climb their UFC ranks. It's a pleasure to work, and it's amazing that these guys trust us to do what we do. To the guys at my gym, the guys and girls in my gym that don't fight but support the team by being good training partners, by showing up every day and putting in work, I appreciate all of you guys. Yeah, and then my sponsors. So Gatorade, Target, and Bridgestone Tire. I want to thank all those guys for all that cheddar they send my way. It's awesome, man.
Those, my friend, are what we call blue chip sponsors. So there you go. That's a nice little plug.
Sponsors, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being on with us, man. You have an amazing story, and I feel like we're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So, like TJ said, I think we're gonna have to have you back on and go further inside the trash can. Everybody watching, like this video, hit that subscribe button. Trash Talk with Damian and TJ. Do not be a hoe.